Hi, in this video I'll be going through some examples of how to solve two-step linear equations. I'll be using page 26 and 27 of my Algebra 1 companion linked in the description below. So if you have the book, great. Feel free to follow along. If not, not to worry. If you're struggling with these concepts, you'll still get a lot out of these examples. All right, let's begin by taking a quick look at the explanation on page 26. So here is what I want you to focus on. When you are evaluating an expression, typically your order of operations is PEMDAS. So what do I mean by evaluating an expression? Let's say you had something like 5 times 4 plus 7. So in this case, your order of operations that you follow is first you do parentheses if you see them, then exponents if you see them. Here we don't have either. Then you do multiplication or division, whichever one you see first from left to right. Here we do have multiplication, so you would do that first. Then you would do addition or subtraction. But when you are solving an actual equation, that is different from evaluating an expression. So here we have an equation. You know it's an equation because it has an equal sign. Also unique to this, or different for this, is that you have an unknown variable here. Now the goal is to isolate this variable. And what do I mean by isolate? I just mean to get that variable by itself, to get that variable alone. All right, so in order to get that variable alone, we are going to go in the opposite order. So everything is backwards. Now, instead of doing PEMDAS, now our order of operations is actually SADMAP. So there we go. So that means that instead of doing parentheses exponents first, you want to look for any opportunity to add or subtract to help you to isolate the variable, and do that first. Once you've taken care of any opportunity to add or subtract, then you look for any opportunity to multiply or divide, and then do that next. Now, if we had more complicated equations, we would then do exponents and parentheses, but let's just leave that for now. All right, so now keep in mind that's the direction that we're going, and take a look at the example here. We have 5x plus 7 equals 92. So remember, a reminder that if you have a number and a variable next to each other, that typically means, or that does mean, that there is an invisible multiplication sign between. So that is an important thing to remember. All right, so remember order of operations. We are looking for any opportunity to add or subtract first to get this x alone. So here we have 7 added, and we want to get that x alone. We need to go the opposite direction. We need to do the inverse operation. So the opposite of adding 7 is subtracting 7 from both sides. So, or subtracting 7. And whatever we do to this side to get rid of this 7, we need to do to that side as well, which is why we're subtracting 7 from both sides. The result of that is getting 5x equals 85. Now, a reminder that 5x is really 5 times x. Now, in order to get the x alone, you have to do the opposite of multiplying by 5. So we divide by 5. And again, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So we get x is equal to, and when you divide that, 17. All right, let's start working through a brand new problem. So now we're on page 27 of the workbook. All right, so in our first question, let's zoom in here. We have, let's stick that invisible multiplication sign. So a reminder that we are doing SADMAP. And any opportunity to subtract or add, we want to go with that first. So here we have a 2 right here, and that 2 is positive. So in order to get rid of that 2, we can subtract it. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So we get that negative 5p is equal to negative 60. Now that we've done that, our p is a little bit closer to being alone, but currently it's being multiplied by negative 5. And so the opposite of multiplying by -5 is dividing by -5. And whatever you do to one side, you have to do to both sides. So we end up getting, once we cross that off, that P is equal to -6 divided by -5, which gives us 12. And now that our P is alone, that is our final answer. Great. Now, if you understood that problem, go ahead and pause the video and try the next one. If you do get stuck, please just keep watching and I'll make sure you're not stuck anymore. All right, so let's keep moving. And so here's my next problem. All right, so again, we want to take any opportunity, again, writing SADMAP here. And I'm just going to do that for now because these problems don't have the exponents and parentheses. All right, so any opportunity to subtract or add, we are taking care of that first. All right, so we want the R alone. And so we have -4 or -4. So the opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. Do that to both sides. And you get that -2R is equal to 20. And here we have 2 being multiplied by R, or -2 being multiplied by R. You do the opposite by dividing by -2. You have to do that again to both sides. And you get that R is equal to -10. All right. So if you understood the first two problems, you should be able to complete the rest on your own. I'll go a bit faster now and mark chapters for the remaining questions below so you can see the work solutions for the questions that you need. If you're all set, before you sign out, a reminder that you can find this and tons of other Algebra 1 practice lessons and problems in my Algebra 1 companion linked below. Okay, let's keep going. Here we have 2 added to both sides, so we can go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides. And we get that 36 is equal to -9n, and we have 9 or -9 multiplied by n, so we divide by -9 on both sides, and we get that n is equal to -4. All right, -3 or subtract 3 from both sides, we get that 8p is equal to 144. Now we can divide both sides by 8, and we get that p is equal to 18. Let's keep going. All right, here we can add 1 to both sides, and we get -7p is equal to 140. And then from there, we divide both sides by -7. And we get that p is equal to -20. And let's keep going. Subtract 4 from both sides. We get that -20 is equal to 10x. And then we divide both sides by 10. And we get that x is equal to -2. All right, number 7. Add 7 to both sides. And we get that -7n is equal to is equal to 105. And then divide both sides by -7. And we get that n is equal to -15. So the more you do, the easier these get. And that's the goal in math. Sometimes just practice makes everything a lot more pleasant. All right, so we added 4 to both sides. We have -5x is equal to 60. And now we can go ahead, divide both sides by -5. and you get that x is equal to negative 12. I color-coded that wrong, but bear with me. There we go. Just a couple more. Then we add 2 to both sides, and we get that. There we go. Negative 153 is equal to negative 9v. Then we divide both sides by negative 9. And we get that v is equal to 17. And our final question, add 4 to both sides. And we get that 6 is equal to 6n. The math is nice and easy here. Divide both sides by 6. And we get that n is equal to 1. All right, so here you have your fully worked solution for that page. Hopefully that helped. Stay tuned for another algebra lesson coming soon.